If you are a product operations person, frameworks are going to be a key part of your toolkit. Frameworks are going to enable you to set up those processes, those operations within the teams to make sure that they are focused on creating value, driving the business, and creating designs that your customers are going to love. In this video, I will cover some of the most popular frameworks that are used in the product development cycle that are going to help you develop your work. Let's start with the strategy frameworks. These frameworks are going to help you define the strategy and make sure that your development is aligning with the strategic goals that you have set. The first one is the Blue Ocean strategy. The Blue Ocean strategy helps teams find out new opportunities that had not been addressed in the market. And it focuses very much on highly scalable opportunities and strategies that are going to take your product and scale it up much more than your potential competitors are doing right now. The Blue Ocean strategy is focused on solving problems for your potential customers, but not just any problem. It's focused on very general problems with very wide audiences. And it's much more focused on solving problems than many times Red Ocean strategies are focused more on features and competitive advantages, let's call them. The next framework is going to be KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators that usually help you to identify if you are moving some target or some goal into a certain direction. So a very simple one for a strategic goal, it would be that we are entering, for example, a new market area. We could have a key performance indicator for it, which would be a metric about the market entry, number of sales, number of customers in certain region or certain industry, and with a target number. That would be a key performance indicator. There are different versions of this. There are like what it's called KPI trees. KPI trees are very important because they are not just random KPIs. They try to adapt or to create KPIs for each one of your strategic intents. So you don't just throw KPIs if you have not done it before. The idea with this one is that first you set up your strategic goals and then you assign KPIs to each one of them. Another version of KPIs are OKRs. And I know some people are going to say that they're not the same thing, but well, in reality, they're not that different. OKRs are objectives and key results. Basically, it's kind of similar to what you're trying to do with a KPI tree. You set up an objective, I want to enter a new market, and you set up a key result. It's going to be this number of users in 1 year, or gain this market share, or whichever is your objective there. So it's going to be, they're just versions of it. Why these KPIs and OKRs are really good at is that they help you track the progress of your development against those strategies. Whereas the Blue Ocean strategy is looking more for the new opportunities that are in the market. Now let's move on to the ideation frameworks. The first one that comes to my mind is the Crazy Eights. The Crazy Eights, basically what it proposes is that you create 8 ideas in 80 minutes. What this does is that it promotes creativity, out of the box thinking. I have used a relatively similar concept, but instead of focusing on just 8 ideas, what we have had is a group and create a workshop where we have a 3-minute span where everybody tells or writes in very small sentences what is the ideas. There's no bad ideas. And then what we use is a voting system to rank the ideas. We use coins as how to pay or how to invest your money in said ideas. The good thing with these ones is that you can gamify them. People tend to enjoy quite much these sessions because it's a moment that they are just free to think and then they just can give their opinion what they think is more valuable or not. You can take those outcomes, you can take that evaluation and then try to rank up those ideas that you think are going to be most valuable for your product. Before we move on to the next frameworks, I want to let you know that if you want to up your game as a product manager, as a product operations person, or as a product leader, I created a course that is going to help you create and develop a holistic framework in your company to set up the product operations to really scale up your product teams. Now let's talk about the prioritization frameworks. These are going to help you identify which ones are the best potential opportunities for you to take your product in the future. First, there is the RISE scoring model. RISE is a very popular scoring model, which basically it's scoring different ideas against 4 metrics: reach, impact, confidence, and effort. This is a very popular one because it gives a clear score that helps you understand which ones are the highest opportunities for you to go after. A relatively similar framework to RISE is ICE, without an R. Because the R can sometimes be a little bit pesky on RISE, the ICE framework just focuses on the impact, the confidence, and the ease. You could also use effort, but basically it's multiplying those 3. If you use effort, you just have to divide it for it. The next one is going to be value versus effort. I really like this framework because it creates a matrix and is measuring the impact and the effort of different opportunities, and it's creating a visual representation of which ones are the biggest opportunities, the ones that have they are smaller, potentially lowest impact, highest impact, low and high effort. And it really helps you identify which ones are your big bets, big projects that you could go after, and also the low-hanging fruits that could give you a lot of value for a relatively low effort. Now let's move on to planning frameworks. The first one that comes to my mind is jobs to be done. Jobs to be done is a great framework to put yourself in the shoes of your customers, to understand what really is the job that your customer is trying to do and not focusing on the solutions that they are telling you to work with. It just shifts the point of view of the development, shifts the point of view of you as a planner, as a product manager, as a product operations, whatever your role is. And it really helps you understand what are the jobs that the customer is trying to do and really try to build the best solutions for those jobs. Another framework that I really like, especially if you know your industry and you're a very expert product person, is Moscow, because it's a very simple framework to apply, and it helps you to identify what are the areas that you should focus first. So let's say that if you have a good opportunity or a big opportunity you have to work with, what are the first features that you must work with? The S for should work could be the ones that I could do if I have time, or that they will come later. And then the could have are the ones that I could have, again, if I have time, or they might be a nice to have thing in the beginning, but later on they might become more important. And there's also even the won't have. So things that I think that I should never work with, or I should never include in my product. Another one that is very important to take into account, especially if you're in the very early stages of planning a product, is Lean Canvas. It's going to help you understand what are your business assumptions and plan your work forward. And if you're a very modern product-led company, you can even organize your product roadmaps with a framework like now, next, later, which helps you to plan your roadmap a little bit like what Jobs to be Done is describing, or what Moscow is describing, without having to set up strict deadlines for the different releases. For design frameworks, I would say that design thinking is definitely one of the first ones that you should look into when you are working with creating new designs. It really helps you understand the point of view of the customer and describes how you should work with them and involve them while you are planning, while you are developing, testing, mocking, and really empathizing with their feelings or their needs. The double and triple diamonds are very important frameworks for really designing your product. It helps you take this diverge and converge approach, where first you kind of brainstorm and then you focus first with the definition of your problem, then with the definition of your solution. And in the case of triple diamond, it extends the scope also to the development phase of the product. When it comes to execution, there are going to be different frameworks, and they have been very popular over the years. So the king is still Agile. You can argue that Agile is not a framework, and I would agree with you that in reality it's more like a set of principles. And then there are different frameworks to apply Agile. You have Kanban, you have Scrum, you have stream programming. There are going to be different methodologies to apply Agile into the development process of your R&D or engineering teams. Depending on the type of company and the company culture that you have and the work style that you have, you would choose if you go for Kanban or Scrum or stream programming. And there's another alternative, SAFe, not my favorite certainly. to be honest, I don't think that it's very agile, and I think that it falls a little bit too close to what waterfall is, but it's still an option that many companies still are using even nowadays. It's still feasible, it still produces results, it's just not very agile, and it's not that different from what waterfall is. That doesn't mean that it's not necessarily a bad option, and it doesn't mean that companies using SAFe are not going to be necessarily successful, at least to a certain degree. They might not be maybe the most modern companies though. That's a different story. So this was a very quick overview of the different frameworks that you can use for pro operations. They are going to help you really do your job. They basically are the toolkit that you are going to need to do your work as a pro operations person. If you want to really dive into creating a holistic framework, please go and check out the course that I created, because it's going to give you more like that expansive and overview of how to do a proper operations in the whole company. If you want to see more or learn more about these different frameworks, I have created many videos and I have a playlist where I cover them. So go check out them up here. I will see you in the next one. And remember, stay safe.